Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban is not just the best Harry Potter movie in a franchise of movies. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. How do you make a movie that's not just better than all the other films in this franchise, but significantly better? So let's break it down.
First of all, I haven't read the books. I hadn't seen the movies.
Right.
And all I knew is that it's this family film and it's the third part of a franchise.
Right.
And that sounded really bad for me.
If there was ever more of a stark contrast between directors, this jump between Christopher Columbus to Alfonso Cuaron might be the biggest. Cuaron is the only director in the entire franchise who has gone on to make some truly astounding films like Children of Men or Roma. It's evident within the first few moments that Cuaron is simply different. Watch this scene in the first few minutes when Aunt Marge starts insulting Harry and his family.
What is it the boy's father did for Junior?
Nothing. He didn't work. He was unemployed.
And a drunk too, no doubt.
That's a lie.
What did you say?
My dad wasn't a drunk.
Things begin relatively by the book with some mediums, wides, and close-ups, not unlike what Columbus was doing, but the moment things start to get personal to Harry, things change.
My dad wasn't a drunk.
We get this great slow push-in on Harry, his demeanor slowly changing as he listens to the horrible things Marge is saying, until he can't take it any longer, and we cut to a reverse with only him in the frame with a hard push-in and a quick snap to Marge as her glass shatters. Then as the tension breaks a bit, we cut to a wide, thus allowing us to visually catch our breath. Then we move to a medium on Marge, then another hard push-in on Harry as he breaks again. I also love how Cuaron uses the background and lighting to signify how Harry's feeling and how his magic is kind of coming out of him a little bit.
There's something wrong with the bitch, then there's something wrong with the pup.
Shut up! Shut up!
I can feel your anger.
But everything up until this point is fairly dramatic. Marge is not a good person, and it's made clear through just a few shots and the performance that she relishes Harry's anger, intentionally provoking him so she can insult and belittle him. Nothing funny here. So we maintain a fairly stark tone. No music, simple but effective camera movements, and a few simple cutting techniques. But as Harry starts to unintentionally blow up his aunt, the tone fades into this cartoonish comedy slapstick. And then the cherry on top is this great, whimsical John Williams music kicking in, and the cutting getting quite a bit quicker as she gets larger and larger, snapping to a cuckoo clock, buttons flying through the air, pelting Dudley, clothes ripping, and the jewelry flying every which way. It's a perfectly constructed sequence of action through tried and true technique. I also love how Cuaron handles the comedic tone of this film at large. It's substantially darker than the previous two, but there's still a fair amount of humor, especially in the first half.
Little old lady at 12 o'clock.
John Williams' music reflects this well, but the dialogue and the use of visuals are equally funny, like this shot with Stan Shunpike, or when Harry keeps flying into the window of the bus. Naturally, Cuaron handles tension incredibly well, too. Here's another early scene when Harry first sees what we come to learn as Sirius Black emerging as this dog. The pacing of this scene is, again, pitch perfect. Start with a wide, establishing the darkness and loneliness setting in on Harry after he leaves his aunt's and uncle's house. Then we get a push-in and a crane up as Harry looks up at a straining streetlight. We push in on the light as it extinguishes, leaving Harry in further darkness. Then we get this great shot pushing past Harry, looking over his shoulder at the playground equipment slowly screeching to life. And back to Harry wheeling around at twigs breaking. I love this shot because it encapsulates what the audience and Harry is looking at. We have this medium shot of him looking back at the equipment and it's all in focus. And then we seamlessly transition into this close-up all in one shot, throwing his and our attention away from the creepy equipment to a creepier dog in front of him. It's sublime.
Housekeeping.
I'll come back later.
Not only does Cuarón perfectly cut scenes to illustrate the emotion of it, but he also uses movement far more than Columbus ever did. Characters are zooming around the scene constantly. Gone are the days of flat mediums with characters mostly in the same position, moving to grab something and getting trapped in a medium again. Characters move with purpose and intention here, like this simple medium of Stan moving himself into a close-up, invading the space of the screen as he invades Harry's personal space. Simple stuff. Or this scene of Cornelius Fudge explaining what happened to his aunt. A lot of what he's saying isn't necessary to the plot, and Cuarón counters this mundane dialogue with this Igor guy constantly offering Harry food over top of it.
She has been properly punctured and her memory modified. She will have no recollection of the incident whatsoever.
It's slapsticky, it's charming, it's funny, and it pulls our attention away from the mundane dialogue while also delivering it if you want to know it. And then, the moment Fudge says something that the audience must hear, this bit is dropped. And this is all capped by Fudge being as far away from Harry as possible, delivering this boring monologue unmoving in the corner of the room, not even looking at him. But that changes again when he says something important. Then he turns and actually approaches Harry, becoming a part of the scene with him, all conveyed with simple character movements and clever editing. You never notice this stuff normally because it's that good.
Now Tom will show you to your room.
Same goes for the camera and the direction itself. And the camera, in this case, is something of a character, moving like the characters, pushing, pulling, whipping, and panning all over the place. But it's not style overload. In fact, it's frequently so good at simply highlighting the scene, you may not even notice how much movement is happening on screen with the camera. Here's an awesome oneer, which is just a one long, unbroken take of Mr. Weasley telling Harry he's in great danger. The scene isn't flashy in the least, but the fact that it's one unbroken take is incredibly effective and impressive given how much movement is happening with the camera and what's happening in the background. Mr. Weasley is telling Harry something in confidence and is constantly moving Harry away from people who might be listening. There's all kinds of movement in the background, highlighting the need for them to move. And as they move further down this hallway, we end with this great shot in darkness, and then it caps with a push-in on Harry's realization. It's brilliant!
Why would I go looking for someone who wants to kill me?
Everything I've mentioned so far is just in the first act. The filmmaking is so good, I can talk for much too long about so little. If, for whatever reason, you want more examples of the great filmmaking on display, we have the iconic and incredibly tense Dementor attack scene. It's perfectly paced, it has this creepy-ass music, awesome sound design, and maintains a clear tone throughout. Or how about another great example of how funny this is? The first scene with Buckbeak is a highlight. We get some good visual gags, like the entire class moving backward, leaving Harry here for Hagrid to think he's volunteering, or Neville getting his ass ate up by the monster book, his clothes slowly getting more tattered as the scene goes on. This movie just f***ing rocks. It's substantially better than the next best movie in the franchise. I mean, even the visual effects hold up better than most. The intention of Cuarón is clear. The intention of his scenes is clear. And that is what sets him apart from everybody else in this franchise. He knows exactly what he wants and how to deliver it through movement and through editing, through basic filmmaking. But it takes so much more effort, and that's why we don't see it that much. The effort that Cuarón is putting into this film is so evident, but it's not overtly flashy either, which I love. There is so much movement by the characters, by the camera, there's so much composing, there's so much going on, that the acting is so much better, the visual effects are so much better, and I think all of that comes down to Cuarón's attention to detail. He wants everything to be exactly how he envisions it, and because of that, we have a movie that I believe is going to stand up to the test of time for decades to come.